Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today we have with us Jason W. Taylor with CodeLaunch. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, Lee. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us a little bit about CodeLaunch. How are you serving folks?
Well, CodeLaunch ATL is an event that we've been producing in North Texas for about 8 years. It's for startups, specifically tech startups. And we are bringing it on, we're leveling it up to a nationwide touring event. And our first city we're bringing it to outside of North Texas is Atlanta.
Then how'd you pick Atlanta?
Well, it starts when CodeLaunch started evolving in about year 6, 7, and 8. We got lots of additional software development companies involved with it. And one of them was a company that was local here to North Texas called Improving. And Improving actually liked it so much, they acquired it. And said, we want you to take this on tour. We want you to run a CodeLaunch event in every city that we have an Improving office. Turns out Atlanta has a big Improving office up in Alpharetta. And so we're really happy to be hosted by them. And my team in Atlanta is helping us produce this great event for Georgia and Atlanta tech startups.
And then tell us about the event. Who's it for? What happens there? Yeah,
so it is actually a 4-day event that culminates with a fun competition and trade show that the public is welcome to come to. So it'll happen in August. And what we do is we take tech startups that are pre-MVP, which means they haven't got their product to market yet. And we pair them with a team of professional software developers over the weekend. And those software developers work with the startup founders, and they try to level up their product and build whatever key features and expand progress toward a public product launch as fast, as hard as they can. And we will have a variety of partners, like we already have a great company called Build Technology Group, also in Alpharetta, and of course Improving, and we have a handful of others we're talking to. And we'll pair those up with startups, and then we'll prepare them for the stage, and then they'll go on stage and compete at the event. And so we'll have business leaders, angels, VCs, people that are very interested in the early stage tech startup scene. So all of your startup ecosystem players in Atlanta are welcome and invited. Anybody who wants to see the next big thing that's going to come out of CodeLaunch and become a great American startup story. And
then, so what are some of the kind of superstars that have bubbled up out of CodeLaunch?
Well, we have a great handful of groups that have been coming out of CodeLaunch. Probably one of the most notable is a group called Pros Rent, which you can find at prosrent.com. They came out of CodeLaunch 2016. And they are now, they've raised money and reached profitability. They have a handful of employees, like 10, 11 employees. So they're a really fast rising star. Another one would be a group called Kid Strong, which went from one franchise store. They're a franchise company. They do physical stores that help children and their parents exercise together, but also develop learning and mental, like kind of social and emotional learning skills. So it's a unique kind of concept store, and they're now at like 25 stores nationwide, and selling franchises in large groups. And then another one is actually from Atlanta, so it's a super great story. It's a group called Caracorder, CHARACHORDER, Caracorder. And the founder is a man named Riley Keene, who went to Georgia Tech and is from Dunwoody. And he has invented a game-changing QWERTY keyboard killer. So completely throw out the keyboard that we all use every day on almost every type of PC and replace it with a brand new way to interface with a computer that is much, much faster. And he has now reached product stage. He's launched his product along with a follow-on product and is getting interest from some of the biggest brands and PC accessory manufacturers around. And the best thing about Riley and Carrick Waters, he's going to be at the event on stage talking about his experience since CodeLaunch and helping to share his entrepreneurial journey.
Now, if I'm a startup and I'm saying, okay, this is for me, I want to check this out. Some of these startup events like this, if I get involved, then I got to give up some equity. I got to, there's some kind of fees and maybe even some hidden fees. Does CodeLaunch have any of that?
I'm so glad you asked, because that's what really makes CodeLaunch different from every other type of pitch competition and accelerator in the space. Is we are only interested in pre-MVP startups to start with, which there's not a ton of really impactful resources out there for the pre-MVP startup. And secondly, we do not take money from the startups to apply. We do not take money from them to compete and win, and we do not take any equity. At the end of the event, we give them all the source code that we created, and our purpose is to help accelerate them toward funding and toward product launch on a purely altruistic basis. And that's because the company that I belong to, Improving, that acquired CodeLaunch and my company, Code Authority in North Texas, they are committed, and we are committed together to something called conscious capitalism, which is a model and a framework for businesses to run in a way that positively uplifts the community and gives especially our teammates a common glue and a set of values that we all believe in and strive to reach together. So this is something that we care a lot about, and it helps every community that we produce this event in. So this is a no-lose situation for any tech startup in your community who needs to make faster progress on their product, or needs a especially challenging feature added, or just needs to cover a lot of ground fast with a professional team in over 2 days.
So now at the event itself, so I sign up. Does everybody who signs up get admitted, or is this something you're going to curate this list a little bit?
Yeah. So right now, we opened the applicant window for the Atlanta event on May 1st, and it goes until June 17th. So if you are a tech startup in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, and you haven't heard of this, you need to go to CodeLaunch.com and click on the Atlanta and then apply. And everybody that applies, it's basically, you're just applying to be considered. And then we go through a curation process that takes 6 weeks, and we start that on June 18th. During that time, we will take a deep look at all the startups that apply, and we're going to end up with a small handful that we feel like are a very good match for the technical skills that our professional dev shop partners are putting up, and also that we can make a significant amount of impact on them in just a 2-day, 12 hours a day, back-to-back sessions. So then once we announce our finalists, then we're going to take attendees registering to come watch the outcome. So right now we're talking about applicants, and then in late June, July, we're going to be talking about people attending the event. The event is actually on August 18th at the, what's the name of it? It's the Legacy Theater at Phase in Alpharetta. So we're going to take over that whole place, and we're going to have a great finale of the competition, and people get to come, and the general public's welcome in, and we'll have our signups active on the morning of June 17th. And
then what happens? Somebody's crowned the winner? What happens at the event?
Yes, you walk in, and there'll be lots of startups everywhere. So we give tables to the startups that we don't pick for the stage. So There should be 20 or 30 great local tech startups there, and other ones who come from all over the country as well. And also exhibits from many of our sponsors and our family that helps produce CodeLaunch. And then we'll have this great competition on stage, which will last about 1 hour. Each of the finalists will get a 5-minute pitch. They'll be questioned by a panel of experienced entrepreneur judges. And the best part is all the attendees collectively get to vote via a great sponsor of ours called ProTexting. So everyone will use their phone and cast their vote. We'll let Riley come on stage and talk about his experience while everyone's voting, and then we'll reveal who got the most votes, and that's the winner. We'll give them a trophy, and then many of our sponsors will actually give them additional services that are really valuable to an early stage tech startup, like digital marketing, legal services, financial services, and other support. And then there's a couple hours of food and beverage and networking and startups and events like we all used to know and love back in Atlanta in August.
And so this isn't to get funding. This is kind of a celebration of the work and to maybe get your work, take it to a new level.
So yeah, what we've discovered is the pre-MVP tech startup is a very difficult. It's a struggle to get the first round of funding. And normally, experienced angels and VCs are going to want a startup founding team that has already had an exit, which is really hard to find. Or they're going to want you to already have your product and to see that you have some traction with users, customers, however it might work for your particular idea. And so there's a catch-22 there. It's incredibly difficult to find the capital and the talent to build a full-fledged software development required, app or SaaS platform or whatever it might be. And so what we do is try to get these groups accelerated toward funding. And but you're right, they do not win funding at the event. They win. The finalists all get the software development. One of them wins additional services, and all of them have a much greater chance of getting to funding and getting to market because of CodeLaunch.
So now, is it difficult for you to get the technical help you need to help each of these startups? Is that a challenge for you?
It is, but it's also not. We already do have one great sponsor I mentioned, Build Technology Group. We'll be joining Improving Atlanta, putting up a 4-person professional team, and we're still looking for 2 more. If you are a professional software developer, you work for a company that you think is like-minded and shares our values, we would love to hear from you. I'm talking to a variety of other companies in Atlanta right now, and would love to be announcing that I've got a couple of more locked down. But yeah, we don't expect any problem by the time the event and the finalists are in hand. We'll have definitely at least 3, maybe 4 dev shop partners.
And you're looking to kind of roll this out across the country?
Yes. So my CEO of Improving, Curtis Height, believes greatly in the future of CodeLaunch and the power of it to grow and impact more and more startups. And so we decided to produce this event in as many communities as we possibly can. And right now, we were supposed to be doing this last year, and then the pandemic crushed any chance to do that. But we feel like that events at least by August, face-to-face events are going to be something that we're all looking forward to attending again. So we're going to roll out once per quarter, beginning in Q3 in Atlanta, back in North Texas in Q4, very likely in Houston in Q1 2022. Also very likely in sometime in 2022 in Columbus, possibly Minneapolis, possibly Chicago, Denver, or even coming back to Atlanta. So if we have a great event and we get a lot of participation in Atlanta, the chance that we come back and do this every year in Atlanta is very high.
Now, what are some of the criteria that'll help a startup apply and make it and win? Like, what do what does it have to be like? Turn into a unicorn? Like have social impact? Like what are some of the qualities of a winning startup that gets invited and wins this?
Well, there's a couple of requirements. So when a startup applies, they'll have to tell us everything that they're trying to do, how far they've gotten, who the founders are on the team. Having a team is very important. We get a lot of solopreneurs that apply that don't usually make it that far. The team adds a lot of credibility and also a lot of ability to execute. So we like startups that have a team. Also required is going to be a nice looking pitch deck. Something that we can tell that this group has pitched before and they are actively pitching, and this is not their very first rodeo. Although it might be their first startup, at least they have been active trying to raise. And then another thing is if they have any progress on their product, we like screenshots of the product or mock-ups of what they want to build. So professional looking mock-ups are required. So all of those three, does require a little bit of hustle, and a little bit of execution, and a little bit of maturity. And that's what we're looking for. And then there's lots of categories. Well, there's a handful of categories that we classify each group into, and we try to pick one from each. So we actually have a social impact category, and that's for the startup that's trying to build something that's changing people's lives, and that's probably more important than making money. And then we also have a group for like just U.S. commercial startup, whose idea is to disrupt the economic space and make a ton of money. And then we also have a student founder. So we get a lot of startups that are actually founded by a student or a group of students that are still full-time, maybe at Georgia Tech, GSU, or Emory, or even we've even had high school groups in past events here in North Texas. And we've also had postgraduate PhD type groups. So student founder is one group, human impact is another, and U.S. commercial is another.
And then what's been the most rewarding part of this journey for you?
Well, the most rewarding part about it for me is that I have a natural affinity for this type of thing in this space. I am definitely a natural born entrepreneur. And I love the curation part when I get to meet each of the groups and talk about their ideas, and then so seeing some of these groups come in, get this software development, see their products start to mature and become something they can hold and touch and show people, and then watching them go down the road and then come back and say, like for example, our CodeLaunch 8 winner in November, which we produced in the middle of the pandemic, incredibly. They went on to close their seed round and they were oversubscribed, which means they had more checks that were trying to be handed to them than they wanted. So they actually had to turn a few investors away and say, we'll come back to you first on the next round. And, so getting a startup from needs progress on their product to made a lot of progress and raised money and closed it, that's very rewarding to me, and that's what our goal is.
So now, if there's somebody out there that wants to get involved with the event, whether they're coders, whether they're entrepreneurs, what's the website?
It's CodeLaunch.com, and I can be reached, Jason at CodeLaunch.com. So super easy. We're also looking for sponsors who want to help produce this event. We're looking for a presenting sponsor in the greater Georgia, Atlanta area who wants to align themselves with conscious capitalism and also the exciting space of tech startups. And obviously, we're looking for any and all applicants. And then down the road, we're looking for people to come to the event, and we're going to cap that at 700 people. So we're looking to fill that whole place up with 700 exciting people who want to watch some great startups.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations on all the success. I'm looking forward to the event, and it's a great opportunity for the folks here in Atlanta to take their startup to the next level.
Exactly. I look forward to meeting all these groups and seeing all the Atlanta startups apply. They can apply right now at CodeLaunch.com. Thanks a lot, Lee.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. That was Jason W. Taylor with CodeLaunch. Be sure to check out the website CodeLaunch.com to learn more and to apply. We will see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay, Atlanta's new standard in payroll. To learn more and get your first month free, go to onpay.com.